The wooden platform stood in the middle of the old human town. The sky above it was dull and heavy. People gathered in a tight circle around the gallows. Their eyes were fixed on the alien girl who stood with her hands tied behind her back. Her silver skin looked pale under the morning light. Her dark eyes showed fear, but she tried to stand straight. She did not want humans to see how frightened she truly was. She had come to study them, not to harm them. Now she stood at the edge of death for the same reason the rope hung in front of her. One step forward and it would wrap around her neck. The wind moved gently, but the crowd stayed still. No voices rose. No whispers moved. Everyone waited for the final moment. Many believed she was a spy. Others believed she carried danger inside her. A few looked unsure, but no one spoke for her. She was alone in a world that never planned to accept her. She thought of her home far across the stars. She thought of her mission to study humans. She wanted to learn about their hearts and emotions. She wanted to understand why humans showed kindness even to strangers. But she had made a mistake. She had been discovered while recording the daily life of the town. People panicked and dragged her away. They believed she was collecting information to prepare an attack. She tried to speak. She tried to explain. But fear had already taken root in every human mind. Her words never reached them. Now the final order was given. The executioner stepped forward. His steps were calm, but she could feel his sadness. He did not enjoy this task. He placed the rope around her neck. Her heart began to beat fast. She felt the rough fiber against her skin. She looked at the crowd one last time. No one moved. No one blinked. It felt like the world itself had stopped. Then something changed. A man pushed through the crowd. He wore a hood that covered most of his face. His clothes were simple and dusty. He looked like a traveler or a worker who had just returned from the fields. People stepped aside as he walked. Some frowned at him. Some told him to stay away. But he did not stop. His steps were steady and silent. He reached the front of the platform and looked up at the alien girl. She saw no anger in his eyes. She saw something strange. She saw understanding. He spoke with a calm voice. The girl felt a quiet shock. His voice did not shake. His words were simple. He said she did not deserve to die. The crowd gasped. No one had defended her before this moment. The commander of the town stepped forward and warned the man to move back. But he did not listen. He placed his hand on the rope that held the alien girl. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then with one clean motion he cut the rope. The rope snapped. The sound echoed through the silent air. The alien girl fell forward and the man caught her before she touched the ground. The crowd stepped back in shock. The commander shouted for guards. The people shouted with confusion and anger. The alien girl felt weak, but the man lifted her to her feet. He leaned close to her and told her to run. He held her arm and pulled her down the steps. The guards tried to block the way, but the man moved fast. He pushed a barrel aside and dust filled the air. People coughed. Visibility dropped. The man took the chance and led her through a narrow path behind the gallows. The alien girl stumbled, but he kept her steady. She felt her heart racing. She felt her breath shaking. She had expected death. Instead, she ran through the town with a human who had broken the law to save her. They reached the edge of the town. Behind them, shouts grew louder. Guards searched every street. The man paused for a moment and looked around. Then he pointed to the forest beyond the fields. He told her they must go there. She followed him because she had no other choice. Her legs hurt, but she kept moving. The trees grew closer. The noise of the town faded behind them. Only the sound of their footsteps remained. They crossed the first row of trees. The forest air felt cool and safe. The alien girl looked at the man again. She wanted to ask why he saved her, but no words came out. He stopped and looked at her. His voice was soft. He said he saw fear in her eyes. He said he knew she was not a danger. He said he could not watch her die for something she did not do. For the first time since her capture, she felt a small light of hope, but she also knew the hunt had begun. The town would not stop searching for them. She did not know if she could trust this man. She did not know what waited in the forest. But one thing was clear. The rope that should have ended her life had started a new path for both of them. A path that would change humans and aliens forever. The forest around them grew thicker with every step. Tall trees blocked the sunlight. The ground was soft and covered with fallen leaves. The alien girl walked beside the human man who had freed her. Her steps were unsteady, but she tried to stay close. Behind them, the shouts of the town faded little by little. Still, she felt danger in the air. She knew the humans would not stop the search. She also knew she was now tied to this man who had risked everything for her. He led her deeper into the forest. His hood was still low over his face. He did not speak for a long time. He only listened to the wind and the branches. He moved with care as if he knew the forest well. The alien girl followed quietly. She watched his movements and tried to understand him. He was a stranger, yet he had saved her life. She wondered what kind of human would break the law for someone like her. They reached a small clearing. Sunlight touched the ground and warmed their cold hands. The man stopped and turned toward her. His voice was calm. He said they should rest for a moment. The alien girl sat on a fallen log. The man sat across from her. Their eyes met. She felt a strange sense of safety, but also confusion. She wanted answers. She asked why he had stepped forward at the gallows. Her voice was soft but steady. The man looked down for a moment. Then he explained. He said he had watched the crowd and seen fear take over their minds. He said he had seen her eyes, and they did not show danger. They showed curiosity and confusion. He believed she was not there to harm anyone. He believed she did not deserve death. So he acted before fear crushed the last chance of truth. The alien girl listened with deep focus. She had studied humans, but she had never expected one to risk his life for her. She asked him if he feared punishment. He said yes, but fear did not matter when he knew a wrong was happening. He said humans often make choices driven by fear. He wanted to make a choice driven by courage. She felt a quiet warmth in her chest. It was rare for her kind to feel such strong emotion for a human. She wondered what made this man different from the others. She looked at his hands. They were strong but gentle. She looked at his eyes. They were steady and honest. She felt she could trust him even though she barely knew him. They began walking again. The forest floor grew rougher, and the sound of running water arrived from ahead. The man said there was a river that could hide their tracks. If the guards followed the path, they might lose the trail near the water. The alien girl nodded and followed him. She noticed the forest became darker as clouds covered the sun. When they reached the river, the man stepped into the shallow water and told her to do the same. The cold water made her gasp, but she followed. They walked along the riverbank for a long time. She looked behind them and saw no footsteps. The river washed everything away. This gave her a small sense of relief. After a while, the man pointed toward a ridge. He said there was an old cabin hidden behind the rocks. It was abandoned long ago. They could rest there for the night. The alien girl felt exhaustion growing in her legs. She had been tied for hours before the gallows. She had been ready to die. Now she walked through a forest with a human who carried the weight of a whole town upon his shoulders. She admired his courage, but she also feared the danger that followed them. When they reached the cabin, she noticed it was old, but still strong. The wood was worn, but the roof held firm. The man pushed the door open. Dust rose from the floor. He stepped inside and checked the corners. Then he told her it was safe. She entered slowly. The air inside was cool and still. She felt a small moment of peace. The man sat near the window and watched the forest. He said the guards would search the forest, but they would not come this far today. They had a few hours to rest. She sat across from him. She watched him study the outside world with steady eyes. He seemed calm, but she could see the weight of his choice resting on his shoulders. She wanted to thank him, but the words felt too small. Instead, she told him her name. Her voice was quiet but sure. He looked at her and nodded. Then he told her his name. It felt like the first real moment of trust between them. The forest outside stayed silent. The cabin became a small island of safety in a world filled with fear. The alien girl knew their journey had only begun. She also knew that this human had changed the path of her life in a way she never imagined. Inside the old cabin, the air felt still and quiet. Dust floated softly in the light coming through the cracked window. The alien girl sat near the wooden wall and rested her tired legs. The human man sat across from her watching the forest through the small window. Outside, everything seemed calm, but both of them knew danger was hidden behind every tree. The town would not forget what happened at the Gallows. Soldiers would search the forest until they found them. The girl felt this truth, but she also felt another need to tell the man why she had come to Earth. She reached into the small pouch tied around her waist. The rope had not damaged it when she was captured. She slowly pulled out a thin silver device shaped like a flat stone. The man turned his head and looked at it with caution. She placed the device on the floor between them. Light spread across its surface like ripples on water. Then images began to rise above it, soft and silent. Drawings, maps, symbols, and human figures appeared floating like mist. The man watched with surprise, but he did not step back. The alien girl explained that this was her research. She had come to Earth to study human behavior, emotions, and social patterns. Her people wanted to understand humans before making contact. They believed knowledge could prevent conflict. She had spent months observing villages, towns, and families. She had recorded everything she learned, not as a spy, but as a student. She showed him images of human children playing in the fields. She showed families eating together with smiles and calm voices. She showed markets full of life and noise. She showed drawings of human faces with different emotions: joy, fear, sadness, hope. She told him she was amazed by how humans carried both light and shadow inside them, how they could be gentle and dangerous at the same time. She believed her people could learn from humans, but also feared what fear itself could create. The man watched each image with steady eyes. He saw no sign of harm in her work. He saw care and curiosity in every drawing. He saw respect. When the images faded, he looked at her with a hint of sadness. He told her humans feared what they did not understand. He said the crowd at the Gallows did not see her research. They only saw something unknown, something that made them uneasy. The girl looked down at the device. Her voice was soft. She said she wished she had explained the truth earlier, but fear moved faster than words. The man nodded. He understood that fear controlled the town long before she ever reached it. Then she revealed something she had not told anyone on Earth. Her people were already watching Earth from a distance. They waited for her reports. They wanted to know if humans were ready for peaceful contact. If they believed humans were dangerous, they would stay away. If they believed humans harmed peaceful visitors, it could bring consequences far heavier than anyone imagined. Her voice grew weaker as she spoke. She told the man that her failure to communicate with the town could push her people toward a defensive path. She feared that one mistake could shape the future of both worlds. The man felt a weight settle on his chest. He had never imagined his small town could be the center of something so large. He looked at her and understood the importance of her presence. He asked her if there was still a chance to fix things. She looked at him with uncertain eyes. She said there was always a chance as long as someone believed in truth. He stood up and walked to the window. The forest outside looked peaceful, but he knew the moment was fragile. He turned toward her and said they must show both humans and aliens that peace was possible. He said running forever would not stop fear. They needed a way to send a message to her people. A message that showed humans were willing to understand. The girl felt a spark of hope. She reached into her pouch again and pulled out a small glowing crystal. It was part of her communication tool. She said they could try to send a signal from high ground, but the device was weak now. The capture and escape had drained its power. She said they needed a safe place to restore it. The man thought for a long moment. Then he said he knew a place. A ridge deep in the forest with open sky above it. If they reached it, the signal might travel far enough. The girl nodded. She put away her device and stood up. The cabin no longer felt safe. The silence around them carried warning. They needed to move before the search lines closed in. As they stepped outside, a quiet promise formed between them. The truth she carried could change the future of two worlds. The courage he carried could protect it. Together they walked deeper into the forest toward the ridge, and toward the unknown. The forest grew colder as the sun moved behind heavy clouds. The alien girl and the human man walked side by side through thick trees and uneven ground. The ridge where they hoped to send the signal was still far away. The girl held her small device close to her chest. Its faint light touched her fingers. She feared it would lose its power before they reached the high ground. The man walked ahead and stayed alert. Every sound made him pause. The forest was calm, but danger moved through it like a shadow they could not see. Behind them, the hunt had already begun. Back in the town, the commander gathered soldiers and trackers. His face showed anger and confusion. He could not understand why a human would save an alien. He believed the man must have been influenced or threatened. He ordered the soldiers to search every part of the forest. He said the alien must be captured before she reached any of her own kind. Rumors spread that she carried secrets that could harm humans. Fear grew in the town like a slow fire. The alien girl did not know the exact details, but she felt the pressure in the air. She sensed a shift in the forest. Creatures stayed quiet. Birds did not sing. It was as if the forest itself understood that humans had entered with cold purpose. She walked closer to the man. She whispered that the search was near. The man nodded but did not break his pace. He said fear always moved fast, but courage must move faster. They followed the river for a while, then climbed a steep slope. Branches scratched their arms. Stones rolled under their feet. The girl stumbled, but the man steadied her with a gentle hand. She felt tired, but she did not stop. Her mission had grown heavier than survival. She now carried the future of two worlds. When they reached the top of the slope, the man stopped and listened. Faint sounds rose from the distance. Metal, footsteps, voices. The searchline had entered the forest. The alien girl felt her heart tighten. She looked at the man. He placed a finger to his lips and guided her behind a cluster of large rocks. They crouched low. The forest floor smelled of wet leaves and earth. They waited in silence. Voices grew louder. A small group of soldiers passed near them. They carried torches and long poles. One of the soldiers said the alien could not have gone far. Another said the man who saved her must be desperate now. Their words mixed with the rustling of branches. The girl pressed her hands together. She feared the soldiers would find the cabin and discover the signs of their stay. But the group moved onward without stopping. When the footsteps faded, the man let out a slow breath. He said they must leave quickly before another group came near. This side of the forest. They continued walking, but the path grew harder. Thick roots rose from the ground. The forest was old and wild. The girl breathed slowly to calm her shaking body. She asked the man why he believed in her so strongly. He said he had seen enough suffering in life to know that violence rarely brought truth. He said he wanted to live in a world where people could understand each other. Saving her felt like one small step toward that world. His words warmed her heart but also filled her with fear. She did not want him to pay for her mistake. She told him she could surrender and end his danger. He stopped walking and looked at her with steady eyes. He said surrender would not save anything. It would only repeat the same fear that started all of this. He said she must continue her mission. He would guide her no matter what. As they moved deeper into the forest, the sky began to darken. Night was approaching. The man said they needed shelter again. They found a small cave hidden between two tall stones. The cave was narrow but deep enough to keep them safe from the cold wind. They sat inside and listened to the forest. The girl held her device and checked its power. It flickered weakly. She hoped it would last until they reached the ridge. The man watched the cave entrance. His body was tired, but his mind stayed sharp. He knew the search groups would spread out during the night. They needed to move early before sunrise. He told the girl to rest for a short while. She leaned against the stone wall and closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. For the first time since the gallows, she felt a moment of peace. She felt safe in the presence of the man who had risked everything for her. But outside the cave, the forest shifted again. More soldiers moved through the darkness with slow steps. They carried lanterns that glowed like small fires. The commander was not far behind them. His voice carried across the trees. He said the alien could not escape forever. The night grew colder. The hunt grew louder. The girl slept, but the man did not. He watched the stars through the trees and wondered how 2 lives could change the path of so many. He hoped they would reach the ridge in time. He hoped the truth would shine brighter than fear. Their journey was only becoming harder. The forest that protected them also held the danger closing in. The morning light broke through the trees in thin silver lines. The alien girl opened her eyes slowly. She felt the cold stone behind her back. For a moment she forgot where she was, but then the memory returned. The gallows. The rope. The human who saved her. The long night in the cave. She looked around and saw the man sitting near the entrance. He had not slept. His eyes were fixed on the forest outside. He turned when he heard her move. He spoke softly. He said they must leave before the search groups spread again. She nodded and stood up. Her legs still felt heavy, but her spirit felt stronger. She held her small device close. The faint light inside it flickered like a heartbeat. She hoped it would last long enough to reach the ridge. They stepped out of the cave and into the morning air. The forest was quiet, but not peaceful. Silence in the forest meant danger. Even the wind held its breath. The girl sensed a shift in the sky. Something far away but moving closer. She felt a familiar energy, one she had felt only near her own people. She stopped walking. The man looked at her with concern. She told him she felt that alien scouts were approaching Earth. The man did not look surprised. He only looked more serious. He said this meant they had less time than he expected. They needed to reach the ridge before the scouts saw Earth as a threat. The girl agreed. She knew her people had been watching her signals. When she stopped sending reports, they feared something had happened to her. If they believed humans had harmed her, they might act with force. She did not want a war. She wanted peace born from understanding. They pushed deeper into the forest. The ridge was still far, but the trees grew thinner the higher they climbed. Every now and then, she sensed a vibration in the air. Something above the clouds. Something moving with great purpose. Her people were closer now. She hoped they would wait long enough for her message. The man noticed her worry. He walked beside her and told her she was not alone now. He said they would find a way to send the truth. She looked at him and felt a quiet strength in his words. He did not know her world. He did not know her people. Yet he stood with her as if her future was part of his own. When they reached a clearing, the girl stopped again. Her eyes moved to the sky. Something shimmered above the clouds for a moment. A soft pulse of light. She knew what it meant. Her people had released their small scout ships. They were searching for signs of her. She feared they would interpret every human action as a threat. She feared the moment they saw soldiers in the forest they would assume she was hunted because humans were preparing for conflict. The man looked at the sky, but he saw nothing. Her vision was different from his. She explained what she sensed. He listened with calm eyes. He said they needed to hurry before fear from both sides met in the middle. She agreed. If fear collided with fear, nothing could stop the damage. They continued walking until the trees opened slightly to reveal a narrow path leading upward. The ridge was near. She felt her hope rise. She held her device and checked the light. It flickered weakly, but still held power. She thought it might be enough to reach her people. She began to walk faster, but the man placed a gentle hand on her arm. He told her to stay quiet. He heard voices ahead. They crouched behind a fallen tree. The girl held her breath. A group of soldiers stood near the path. They searched the ground and talked in low voices. The commander was with them. His face looked tired but hard. He believed he was protecting his people. He believed the alien girl carried danger. He did not know the danger came from misunderstanding, not from her. The man whispered that they needed another path. The girl nodded. They moved silently through the trees and circled around the soldiers. It took time. It made their path harder. But they managed to slip past without being seen. When they reached the path again, it was clear. The ridge was only a short climb away. As they climbed the final slope, the girl felt the air change. A soft energy touched her skin. Her people were near. The device in her hand glowed brighter as if answering a call. The man stepped beside her and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. He said this was their chance to stop fear from growing any larger. She reached the top of the ridge. The sky opened above her. The forest fell away behind them. She raised her device. The faint light spread across the air. She hoped her people would hear her message and see that a human had stood by her side, even when his own world turned against him. But far in the distance, another light moved across the sky. A human signal. A flare from soldiers trying to mark their position. Her people might see it as a threat. Two worlds were watching the same sky with fear in their hearts. The moment of peace rested in the hands of one alien woman and the human who saved her at the gallows. The wind grew stronger on the ridge and carried the smell of rain. The alien girl raised her device higher. A soft glow circled her hand. She felt the pull of her people. They were close enough to hear her message, but far enough to misunderstand what they saw. She tried to steady her breath. The human man stood beside her with watchful eyes. His presence kept her calm, even as danger circled them. The signal from her device moved through the air like a thin line of light. It rose into the sky and vanished into the clouds. She waited for a response. Nothing came at first. Only the sound of wind and the rustle of leaves filled the ridge. Then she felt a pulse inside her mind, a silent recognition. Her people had received the signal, but before she could send a second message, a sharp crack echoed from below. A human flare shot through the trees and burst into the sky. A bright red streak cut across the clouds. The girl felt her heart sink. Her people would see the flare as a warning or a threat. They might believe humans were signaling an attack. She tried to send another message, but the device flickered. Its power was almost gone. The man looked at the sky and then at her. He understood the danger even without seeing the ships. He told her they must be ready for anything. Humans and aliens were now watching each other without knowing the truth. One mistake could break the thin thread of peace she tried to create. Before she could answer, they heard voices from the forest. Soldiers were climbing the ridge. The commander was with them. His voice carried through the trees. He told the soldiers to find the alien before she made contact with her own kind. He believed she was creating a path for an invasion. His fear was strong. His steps were determined. The girl wanted to run, but the man shook his head. He said running would no longer help. They were at the edge of everything. They had to make a choice. She looked into his eyes. His calm strength gave her courage. She stood tall despite her shaking hands. She said she would tell the truth to the soldiers. He said he would stand beside her. The soldiers reached the top of the ridge. The commander stepped forward. His eyes moved from the alien girl to the device in her hand. He told the man to step away from her. The man refused. The commander lifted his weapon, but he did not fire. He wanted answers first. Fear guided him, but pride held him back. The girl raised her empty hands to show she meant no harm. She spoke slowly. She told the commander she had not come to hurt humans. She told him her mission was to study human nature. She explained that her people feared misunderstanding and wanted peace. She said she only sent a message to stop her people from making a mistake. She said her people would act with caution if they believed she was safe. The commander listened, but his face stayed hard. He said he could not trust her words. He pointed to the sky where the scouts hid behind the clouds. He said her people were already watching the town. He said humans could not risk trusting someone who carried unknown tools and unknown intentions. The man stepped forward. He said he had seen her drawings and her research. He said she studied humans only to understand them. He said fear had taken control of the town and blinded them. He said if humans punished someone innocent, they would only create more fear. He said the rope on the gallows had almost destroyed truth. He saved her because he saw humanity in her eyes. He said he believed peace was still possible. The soldiers looked uncertain. Some lowered their weapons. The commander did not. The girl felt a pulse again. Her device glowed faintly. Her people were preparing to send a signal back to her. She feared they might land if they saw danger. She knew she had one last chance to prevent a disaster. Her knees grew weak, but she stood tall. She spoke again. Her voice was clear and calm. She said she would surrender peacefully if it proved she meant no harm. She said she would face any human judgment as long as they listened to the truth. The man grabbed her arm gently. He whispered that she did not need to give herself up. She looked at him with soft eyes. She said sometimes peace demands a sacrifice. The commander looked at her in silence. He saw no anger in her posture, no threat in her hands, only a quiet strength. His own fear began to crack. Before he could speak, the sky above the ridge shimmered. A thin beam of pale light touched the clouds. Her people had responded. If humans attacked now, everything would fall apart. Two worlds waited for a single decision. The next choice could protect both or break everything forever. The sky above the ridge brightened with a pale glow. A soft column of light moved through the clouds like a slow breath. The alien girl felt the presence of her people. They had heard her signal. They had seen the flare from the soldiers. They were preparing to act. The wind carried a humming vibration that touched the ground. Even the humans felt it. The soldiers shifted nervously, and the commander lifted his eyes with tension. The forest below grew silent, as if the whole world stopped to listen. The girl stood with her hands raised. Her calm posture hid the storm inside her chest. She knew her people could land if they sensed danger. She knew one wrong movement from the humans could turn fear into conflict. The man stood beside her with steady feet. His hand rested gently on her back, not to hold her, but to remind her she was not alone. She breathed slowly. Every breath felt like a choice that shaped the future of two worlds. The commander stepped closer. His weapon lowered slightly. His voice was steady but full of doubt. He asked her what the light in the sky meant. She answered softly. She said it was her people searching for her. She said they came not for war, but for truth. She said they would leave if they knew she was safe. The commander looked at the man. The man nodded. He said she spoke with honesty. He said she came to learn not to harm. A stronger pulse shook the ridge. A large shape moved behind the clouds. It never broke through, but its presence was clear. The soldiers gasped. Their fear rose again. Some lifted their weapons. The girl stepped forward with slow and steady motion. She kept her hands visible. She spoke to the soldiers. Her voice was gentle. She said fear was understandable. She said she once feared humans too. But she learned that fear hides the real truth. Humans wanted safety. Her people wanted safety. No one wished for war. The commander hardened his jaw. Fear fought with reason inside him. He looked at the man. He asked why the man trusted the alien so strongly. The man answered without hesitation. He said he trusted her because she had never shown hate. He said she only showed curiosity and respect. He said he had seen her research and drawings. He said she cared about understanding life on Earth. He said he saw more humanity in her eyes than he saw in many people. He had known. The girl felt warmth in her chest. His words carried truth and strength. She realized he had become her voice in a world that did not trust her. Another pulse of light passed through the sky. Her device glowed faintly in response. The link with her people was still open. She sensed confusion from them. They saw soldiers surrounding the ridge. They felt danger, but did not act yet. They waited for her signal to understand the situation. She knew she needed to act. Before fear turned into instinct, she stepped forward until she stood between the soldiers and the sky. She lifted her chin and spoke with quiet firmness. She said she would surrender to human judgment. Her voice did not shake. She said she offered herself freely to show she carried no threat. She said her people would see her surrender and understand that humans were not attacking her. She said this moment could save many lives. The man reached for her arm but stopped. He saw determination in her eyes. He understood that she was making a choice not from fear but from hope. The soldiers watched in silence. Even the commander felt the weight of her words. She had no weapon, no army, only honesty. The commander slowly lowered his weapon. He looked at the soldiers and told them to stand down. His voice held a heavy sense of responsibility. He said no one should fire. He said they would take her into custody without harm. His words spread relief through the ridge. The soldiers lowered their weapons. The air grew lighter. The girl stepped toward the commander. She held out her hands. The commander tied them with a simple cord, but not tightly. His eyes showed respect now, not anger. The man stepped beside her, ready to follow. The commander did not stop him. He understood the man had become part of something larger than the town. Above them, the light in the sky shifted. The alien scouts saw the girl surrender without force. They saw humans lower their weapons. They felt the calm change in her energy. The clouds dimmed again. The humming vibration softened. Her people retreated from the edge of action. They would not land. They would not attack. Peace held its place like a small flame protected from the wind. The commander looked at the girl and spoke quietly. He said the town would hear her story. He said the truth would be known. The man placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. She looked at him with tired eyes but also with hope. She knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of new understanding. As they walked down the ridge, the sky cleared. The danger faded. The rope that once tried to end her life now lived only as a memory. A memory of the moment when one human chose courage over fear. That act had changed everything. It had shown both worlds that peace was possible. The girl walked beside the man who saved her. Two worlds walked with them.